안녕하세요. 안녕하세요. And for watching, I say in Korean to you, 감사합니다. Thank you. We're in the middle of a story which it takes up 2 chapters. Now a long one, chapter 30 in 1 Samuel. God recovers. Jesus recovers stolen property. But to recover stolen property, something has to be stolen first. So let's find out what happened. David has been sent home from the battlefront by the king of the Philistines. He was ready to fight for the Philistines against King Saul and the Israelite army. And David is a Hebrew, an Israelite. Good that he didn't fight. He's sent home, back to Ziklag. It's a long haul. David and his men, chapter 30, reached Ziklag on the 3rd day. Now the Amalekites, the perpetual enemies of God, all through the Old Testament, the one they were never allowed to make a peace with. Now the Amalekites had raided the Negev, the southern part where the desert is, and Ziklag, which was there. And they had attacked Ziklag and burned it, and had taken captive the women and everyone else in it, both young and old. They killed none of them, but carried them off as they went on their way. And when David and his men reached Ziklag, they found it destroyed by fire. They burnt it to the ground. And their wives and sons and daughters taken captives, missing in action. No kids, no women, everybody gone. Sons are gone too. So David and his men wept aloud until they had no strength left to weep. David's 2 wives had been captured, Ahinoam of Jezreel and Abigail, the widow of Nabal of Carmel. David was greatly distressed, not just because of that, but because the men were talking of stoning him. Each one was bitter in spirit because of his sons and daughters. But David found strength in the Lord his God. So now, he trudges back to Ziklag, and they see in the distance some smoke, and they quicken the pace, and they find in their hometown where they were living. Remember, he had like 600 men with wives, children, cattle, sheep, whatever. They were all gone. The Amalekites had raided them while David was away trying to fight for the Philistines against the Israelites. And now, when the men see everybody missing, these were tough days. These were brutal days. So what if the men came back and their 22-year-old wife is gone? Or an older guy who had a 16-year-old daughter? They're figuring they're not having Bible studies someplace. Brutal, vicious, immoral world. The Amalekites led the way. So these guys were tough guys, David's soldiers. But they got bitter. They began to weep. David wept. These tough soldiers were weeping. The town is burnt to the ground, and everyone's missing. Everything is missing. Now, a lot of times when there's grief like this can easily turn to anger. Who's responsible for this? I can't find my wife and 2 children. And many times the grief turned to anger turns against the leader. David, what were we doing out there at the battlefront? Trying to fight, and then we're sent home. And while we were away, look what happened. And now these men who were loyal, but see, this is what emotion can do. Anger, bitterness, grief. They talked of stoning David. If David was ever in the soup from King Saul trying to chase him, how about this? The Philistines won't let him fight. King Saul and his army was always trying to kill him. And now his own men say, you got to go. Look what you've done. You're responsible for this mess. And David was at the end. Nerves emotions shot. His own men talking about stoning him. Who would protect him if his guards and his own men are talking about doing away with him? And here's the great verse. But David found strength in the Lord his God. How did he do that? What did he do? Did he go to a priest? Abiathar? Did you just take a walk and say, guys, I'll be back? David's life is filled with ups and downs, and he wrote a lot of Psalms during those ups and downs so we could relate to them and get encouragement from the Lord. So here's one for you now. David found strength in the Lord his God. What kind of strength? Mental strength, emotional healing, spiritual strength, every kind of strength. How did he find it? Where do you find that? Is it in a river? Is it in behind a tree? No. In the Lord his God. So I want to say to you today, we need that every day. I don't know about you. I cannot have a successful day and live for Christ the way he wants me to and see the Spirit working through me until I get alone somewhere with God, not maybe more than once, and I find strength in God. When you're at the end of your rope, you can fall into his arms, which are everlasting underneath you, and he imparts strength. God gives strength to his people. Jesus came to help people, not destroy them, not judge them. He's our Savior. He loves you. Are you at the end of it? I've been there. Want to quit the ministry, want to give up, motion shot. One time I got so bad that when the phone rang, I started to cry. Truth. You ever been like that? Just, as they say in Spanish, demasiado, too much. You can go to God today in prayer. He will help you. I can't do that for you. You got to do it. Your pastor can't do it. The sermon of another tape, listening to someone, me, anyone, they can point you. The sermon can point you. The teaching can point you. The Bible can point you. But you got to get to the Lord at the throne of grace, where he gives mercy and grace, help of all kinds, just when you need it. Please do it today. God bless you. See you tomorrow.